Hello, everyone. I am going to review our grading for ML learners guidance. This guidance does come from the Learning and Language Acquisition team, the ML department. And so I just want to make sure I review our grading policy as you are wrapping up your grades for quarter two. So on the screen, you can see our current ML learner facts. We are steadily increasing our ML population. As of right now, we have 789 multilingual learners at Garinger, which does make up 42.5% of our population. With this high percentage, you likely do have ML students in your class, and therefore, this guidance should apply to just about everyone at Garinger. So, I am going to review grading and amplifying for English learners and how those two are connected. So, this quote comes from the Dear Colleague letter from the US Department of Education and is what the ML department used to create their CMS ML grading plan. So, it says, during their educational journey from enrollment to graduation, L students are entitled to instruction in the school district's core curriculum, reading and language arts, math, science, and social studies. One way to meet this obligation is to provide full access to grade appropriate core curriculum from the start of the L program while using appropriate language assistance strategies in the core instruction so that L students can participate meaningfully as they acquire English. Those words highlighted in blue. I just want you to focus on those words as they are really important and to make sure that you know that this is an obligation of any teacher that teaches an ML student. This statement comes from the 23-24 CMS grading plan, and this is focused on multilingual learners. So it says students should receive a grade with appropriate instructional supports, language supports, and testing accommodations provided according to the student's proficiency levels. Students should not be limited from receiving top grades in a class, even with amplified assignments. Per federal guidance, ML should not receive grades of D, F, or other failing grades on assignments solely due to their limited English proficiency. So I want to highlight this part of the statement here. It seems to be a misconception that we can simply just give students a 70% and call it a day. However, that is not the case. All ML students should have the opportunity to receive top grades in a class. And that is with the use of an amplified assignment as per their ML plan that you can find in Elevation. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So the next thing I want to bring up are the FAQs from the CMS grading plan. You can find these FAQs in the CMS grading plan, as well as the Garinger grading guidance document that I have provided to all of you as well. So I highly recommend that anytime you have a question about ML grading guidance that you refer to this document. It is several pages long and answers a lot of questions about ML grading guidance. So before you reach out to an ML teacher or to myself, please take a look at this because the ML department has likely already answered your question and answered it in depth. I am going to review a couple of key questions and key points from this FAQ. So, this word amplify, you may have heard it before, you may have not, but what does it mean to amplify? So, when we're talking about amplifying, that means adding language scaffolds for students with various language proficiency levels to ensure equitable access to grade level content. Examples of amplifications can be found in the PACE Toolkit. The PACE Toolkit is a resource that you can use for your content area for different types of language scaffolds for our students. The next question is, can English learners with amplified assignments and assessments receive the same grade as their peers who do not receive amplified work? And the answer to this is students should receive a grade with appropriate instructional supports, language supports, and testing accommodations provided according to students' proficiency levels. Students should not be limited from receiving top grades in a class, even with amplified assignments. So here is an example. Um, Teachers should not just be simplifying instructions, simplifying tasks or text. So, giving summaries in isolation, simplifying a text, maybe putting it at a lower lexile or a lower grade level, or just doing translation in isolation. However, as you can see on the right here, here is an example of how you might amplify a text that you are using in your class. And again, many for the provided curriculum, many of these things have already been done by the ML department. Just have to go look for those in the PACE toolkit. Can English learners receive a D or an F? So the L committee should meet to determine further supports needed for the student if the instructional supports, language supports, and accommodations specified in the English learner plan have been implemented and the student either makes no attempt or has not shown progress toward language acquisition and content mastery. English learners can demonstrate the mastery of content in various formats, such as projects, portfolios, etc. I am going to go into more depth about this word attempt in just a few minutes. So here's an example. We cannot just give a D or an F because the students do have either low English proficiency, are new to the country, or that English proficiency is getting in the way of them understanding the content. So, for example, if a newcomer makes no attempt on an assignment that is not amplified to their level, we cannot fail them. However, teachers can give below grade level marks, so below a 70%, only if instructional supports, language supports, and accommodations specified in their L plan have been implemented and the student either makes no attempt or has not shown progress toward language acquisition and content mastery. If you want to go ahead and pause, I'm not going to go into too much depth about translation. But if you have questions about this and want to pause the video to take a look at some questions related to translation, you may do that. And then here are some examples. Feel free to pause the video if you want to take a further look. All right, so now I am going to get into the Gehringer ML Grading Guidance document. This is the same document I have shared over and over again. I continue to update it with new information, but it is always the same document. So you're going to see a lot of the information that I have gone over in this presentation so far. One thing that is new that I want to point out is that I will no longer be pulling spreadsheets with a list of ML students in their first year. This is for several reasons. It's because we constantly have students coming in. It has to constantly be updated. And it is not the end all be all. And so it is more important that all teachers are going into Elevation to find out who their first year students are. So that is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to walk through that. However, there is a document with the steps step-by-step directions on how to do this as well. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you are going to go to your Launchpad, and you should be able to find elevation here in your Launchpad. If it is not there, you can always just search elevation and find it that way. But I would recommend making sure you add this app to your Launchpad, as you should be using it consistently. Okay, so when you log into elevation, this is what your dashboard is going to look like. What I want you to do in order to find your students is either click on the number here, or you can go to your student list. When you get to your student list, this is going to potentially include students that have exited, as you can see down here. So you're going to want to go and click ML Direct. And then that should give you your list of students that are ML Direct that are in your classes. Now, these are all of your ML students. And again, this ML grading guidance applies to every single one of your students, regardless of proficiency level. The type of amplifications you include in your lessons for your students, that is going to vary based on their proficiency levels. And I will show you where to find those amplifications in just a moment. However, if you want to go and find your students within their first year, you're going to click and the first thing you want to do is click composite level. And that is because our rule of no lower than a 70% on their assessments applies to students in their first year and have a composite proficiency level below a 3. So you're going to click 1 and 2. You should see your list get a little bit smaller. And then finally, you're going to click and you're going to go down to where it says US entry. Under US entry, you're going to click is between. Now, we need to see from the start of quarter 2 in the 22-23 school year to the end of quarter 2 in the 23-24 school year, because those are the students that are going to fall within the 1 year range. So you are going to go to November 2022 and November 8th, because quarter 2 started November 8th for this school year. And then you're going to click January 24th, 2024. Now, your list should have gotten even smaller if you even have any students that are in their first year. And these are the students that fall within that range, within that 1 year, first year in US schools. If you want to see when exactly they came here, you're going to take a look at the column that says K-12 US entry date. As you can see, my student Josue here came November 20th, 2022. So he was only in that 1 year range for like a week or two within quarter 2. So he is out of that first year range by now. But if I gave a test within those first 2 weeks, I would still have to follow that policy. So it can get a little tricky. Just pay attention to those US entry dates. Okay. Now, if you want to see their ML plan, you're going to go ahead and click on student, and their ML plan is going to come up. You're going to get all the information you need for these students, including their composite level and their different levels based on their domains. And then I'm going to point out classroom amplifications. Here you can see anything that is checked is their classroom amplifications, and these should be implemented with fidelity in your classes. And by providing these amplifications, your students should be successful in the class, should be able to receive top grades in your class. Okay, moving on. I get this question a lot about the term attempted versus not attempted. And this is something that the district has really looked into as well. So they have come up with a list of steps that should be followed before failing a student who has not attempted an assignment. So I created this flow chart to help out with those questions. So this is broken down between students in their first year and students that are not. However, I do want you to understand that these flowcharts are very similar because the grading guidance really isn't that different. It's pretty much the same for all ML students. So here you can see the flow chart for, let's say this is for our first year students. So if the student is there in their first year, right, and they did attempt the assignment and they did get a 70% or higher, they're good. They can get that grade. If it was below an 80%, they should have the opportunity to attempt the assignment. If they did not get a 70% or higher, the grade does need to be changed to a 70%. However, they should have an opportunity for relearning and reassessment and be able to make up to an 80% on a reassessment test, project, etc. Okay, the student did not attempt the assignment, and this is where I get the most questions. So I'm on the right-hand side here. So the first thing you need to ask yourself, have you been providing the students amplifications per their L plan? If the answer is yes, then you're going to go down to the next one. Have you been contacting and documenting ongoing communication with the student's parents? Yes. Great. You are going to reach out to the ML committee and you must email us. There is a list of who you need to email. I'll show you this in a minute. And explain, link what you have implemented in your class and link how many parent contacts you have made and send that to the ML committee. Now, if you have been providing, if you have not been providing the students with their appropriate amplifications, then you cannot give these students below a 70%. So, this flowchart, just take a look at it on your own. It's also linked or added to the grading guidance document. Take a look at it and make sure you are following this plan. If you do not follow this plan, or this flow chart and you fail a student without doing all the required steps, you will likely be asked to complete a grade change request form. So again, this is for students not in their first year. You can pause the video if you want or take a look at it on the document. It's just slightly different, although you will see a lot of similarities. Here is the email template that you will use if you have followed all of the required steps. You must link some evidence of the amplifications you have used and point out how many times you have contacted the family. And that email template can be found in the Garinger Grading Guidance document. Finally, if you have any questions, you can reach out to the following people based on your content area. And this is based on EOCs. So anyone who does not have an EOC course can reach out to me. And then for our Math 1 and Math 3, Charmaine Anderson and Lynn Visica are our support from the ML department, and they will be helping out with Math 1 this quarter. Additionally, new teachers can reach out to Kelly Trinian and Jade Harris for additional support. So after viewing this video, please complete the quiz to show that you have reviewed it and to see if you understand the ML grading guidance this year. Thank you.